My friends, you are with Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. And I'm here with you today on a very positive note. We're surrounded by disease, by illness, by ill health, and all these problems that seem to be surrounding us. And you just have to open the news, you just have to look at the news, you just have to look at any site you go to, any information you get in social media. We're always talking about disease, and to make things worse, how many of us don't have the personal experience of having people around us that are ill, that have a health problem, that cannot come to work because of that cannot go to school because of that, or worse, they had to go to a hospital, they had to go to emergency room, things like that, and how many of them are not losing their lives. To make matters worse, we have many of those people in the younger generations. So you ask me now, you said we're going to be in a very positive note today, and you're not beginning to sound like very positive at all. Well, let me explain. What I want to talk about is that all that scenario can be changed. We have to walk back, we have to withdraw, we have to do things in a different way. We have to switch paths. And we're going to live in a very different world. What I want to tell you is that it is up to us to have all those positive changes. We have been told for decades now, probably since I was a kid, that, we didn't have too much concern about health. We were healthy, we were growing, we were thriving, and we expected to go like that until we reached the age of our parents or grandparents. And yes, we know about our grandparents having a problem, but we thought, well, when I'm that old, who cares? Isn't that the case? And many times that old was like 60 years old. But when you're a kid, that's a very old age. And I tell people repeatedly, beware, because you're going to get there. And when you get there, you want to be functional. You have to be able to live your life. You have to be in good shape. But more important, you want to get there. My father always said that there's problems associated with growing old. But they're a lot better than not being able to make it. And that's unfortunately a lot of what we're seeing today. So being a doctor for over 50 years, seeing from a flu to a cancer, seeing people with problems, I have said this repeatedly, I have wondered many times what would have happened if that person would have come to me 1 year, 5 years, 10 years before. It would have changed. A lot of things would be changed. And you don't have to believe me. The Center for Disease Control in Atlanta says that some of the most deadly diseases, some of the most important or pressing health issues in America, 40% of them are preventable. Preventable means you do not have to have them. Even genetic problems. When we talk about genetics, we tend to think that it is This is imprinted in granite. It's going to happen. I'm doomed because it runs in my family. So I'm going to get it as well. Yeah, you might, but you might not. Because remember that genes can be suppressed. A good gene can express itself very well, but a gene that's not good for survival or for biological purposes can be suppressed. And how do we do that? Well, by helping the metabolic well-being of the body. By helping the lack of toxic substances, by helping the very low level of free radicals, because those substances are going to push the bad genes to be able to be expressed and show its worst side. But if you have a clean life, if you take care of yourself, if you do everything you have to do, those genes do not necessarily are going to be expressed. I have patients who come from a family with diabetes, here and here and here and on these sides and so on, but they did their homework. And they are not diabetic. I have friends, for example, that were in an environment of heart disease. Their parents, their grandparents, their siblings, people around them had a problem with heart disease. And they did their homework. But if you take the position that there's nothing I can do because it runs in my family, yes, you're going to have it. If diabetes runs in your family and you don't take care of you, you don't take care of your diet, if you don't educate yourself, and I want to underline that part, if you do not educate yourself on how to take care of you, yes, you are going to be diabetic because you're going to begin doing what you shouldn't do, gaining weight, getting metabolic syndrome, getting resistant to insulin activity and so on, and you're going to end up being a diabetic. So no, you cannot do that. So it all begins with education. You have to take care of yourself. You have to learn how to take care of yourself. And that's what I want to talk about today. That's why I say very positive, because I know the results are very good. Reversing disease. When you have an illness, it didn't strike you like a flood or like a thunder. Disease doesn't happen overnight, unless, of course, you are hit by a tornado or struck by anything, or are in a car accident. Disease doesn't come overnight. Disease it's an ongoing metabolic, continuous process of deterioration and damage of functions of the body. The body does a lot of things to live. It takes food, it takes oxygen, it takes water, it turns all these things into useful substances and builds muscle and tissue, and we grow and produces energy to fuel the whole thing, and we have vitamins and minerals that are going to spark energy transmission throughout the body, etc. All those changes are what we call metabolism. Metabolism is a Greek word that means change. Simple. Because when you cut, you don't get spinach or popcorn or ice cream, you get blood. And you have human blood. But you never ate human blood. Which means whatever you ate, the body was able to transform it into a substance that's needed for human life. And that is your heart, your brain, your liver, your organs, and also creates the fuel to get all that working out of food. You eat food and it's transformed again. Metabolic changes to transform it into energy. And you eat minerals, and those minerals will spark the possibility of transferring energy throughout the body and deliver it to all the cells and deliver orders or coordination of tissue, coordination of functions. The liver works along with the heart, with the lungs, with the brain, and all our organs work in concert because we have all these metabolic changes. And these metabolic changes are managed by our genes. We got from our parents the instructions of how to build our body and how to create it. And all we have to do is be careful about all those functions. But in order to do that, once again, we have to first of all educate ourselves and learn about what our tissues are, how they function, what they need, and then we have to switch the path. We have to abandon what we're doing wrong. And we have to start thinking in a different way, feeding the body the way it should be fed, exercising the way it should be, sleeping the hours the body needs, taking care of the body, taking care of our biological body. That's why we chose the word BioCare. To absolutely care for this biologic marvel that God gave us, which is our body, where we live, and our life to enjoy and to be useful. Let's keep on talking on that. You are with Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. And I told you that I was on a positive note because I want to bring about information about changing paths, switching paths to a healthier future, to a healthier living, to a better performance, to more enjoyment in life. That's what I'm talking about. But to do that, we need education. And I'm giving you the premises of things that are happening today. How our body can change everything from the environment and turn it into who we are. We are a work of art. We're made in perfection. So our bodies can do a lot of things and are very resilient and work in a fantastic, in a miraculous way. We are a miracle. But what we do with our lives today is changing all the possibilities for a successful living. We are turning our lives into problems because we grow, and when we're young, we have this feeling that the world is ours. We can do whatever we want. We can go wherever we want to go. We feel strong. We feel that far-reaching. we think that nothing can stop us. We eat and have fun and dance and stay late overnight and etc. because we feel nothing is going to happen. And when you're young, yes, there are a lot of things in your body that will allow you to do that. But what happens if you keep on doing that? I'm going to tell you what happens. One of the important health issues today that has a very important emotional impact on my life is early onset disease. When you are a doctor and you see, let's say, an old man with a young guy coming into your office, you turn to the man and you say, how can I help you? And the man tells you, it is my grandson who has the problem. That's what I'm talking about, early onset disease. And we're seeing it more and more. It's growing. On one hand, through smart management, and I have made podcasts about this that you can read, we are beginning to dominate, to change the outlook for even deadly diseases. But on the other hand, we're having more and more people very young in their lives that start with diseases we used to see when you're 60, 70, 80. It was an old person's disease, but now you have a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old with cancer, with diabetes, with high blood pressure, with heart disease. And it puzzles you. As a doctor, it really puzzles me. Because many times, and I have said this many times, let's say you have even a deadly disease. And I think if I manage this well, I think I can get 5 years, 7 years of successful results. And the person you're treating happens to be 78. And you say, well, if you can extend performance and good life for a person 78 to 85, that's a big win. You might be able to live through the graduation, through the marriage of your grandkids. You still can do a lot of things. You can make that trip you wanted to do. There are a lot of things you can do when you're 78 if you live well to be 85. But if you're 30 years old and I tell you that I'm going to keep you well for 6 years, your future should be an outlook of 30, 40 years, not 6. What have you done? What have we done? And I mean we, because this is a conversation that more times than what I'd like, I have had in the past. I talk to parents and I say, don't be permissive. Your child is not your friend. You do not necessarily have to make your child happy all the time, because your duty is to educate your child and give him a strong, healthy upbringing. Because you want him to live to his or her full potential and to be your stay and your help and your support in your old age. If you remember the case of Larry King, one of the last things that Larry King talked about was the death of his 2 children, who died because of chronic degenerative disease. And he was very bitter because he, in a way, accepted that he somehow also helped his children to do wrong things in their lifestyles that led them to an early death. When you talk to a child, permissiveness can be damaging. You have to establish roles, because we grew up like that. I don't ever remember my mother asking me, what do I want for dinner? She would put a plate in front of us, and I would say, Mom, but are we going? She said, yes, because winter is coming. You need those veggies. You need that fish. You need that food. It's summertime. You need that big salad. You need a lot of water. You need your vitamins, so forth. She wasn't a doctor, but people were very conscientious about children upbringing. And now it seems to me that we just fill them up. We don't feed our children, we fill them. Open your mouth and I feel like going to a gas station and fill it with whatever. You don't do that to your car. If you have a good car, you choose good gas, high octane. However, you turn to your kids and you let them eat whatever as long as they're full. And fullness comes from the cheapest, worst type of foods. It almost bothers me to call them foods. And that's where we have to make the changes. That's what I'm talking about, reversing disease. What I want you to do is educate yourself, learn about it, sit with your children and tell them what we are going to do from now on because it's going to be good for you. And you know what? You might be in for a big surprise. Because many times when I talk to kids, adolescents, in their teenagers, and I tell the parents, you should do this and do that, many times it is the kid who jumps up and says, I told you, mother. I have seen in school, I have read, I have seen in the media that we should eat more of this or more of that. So permissiveness, lack of interest, neglect for our children's lifestyle could have a very, very high price that I don't want any of you to have to pay. So if you're willing to do with your life whatever you want, make sure your children are well guided and educated. Now, you cannot tell children, eat this, don't eat that. From the time they're very young, if you feed them soda pop, they're going to love soda pop. Our brains are programmed to love what your parents give you. Have you ever heard anybody saying, oh, I love this food except when my mother made it? That doesn't exist. It's the other way around. You eat something and you say, I don't like it, and my mother did it better. And we all say the same thing. Even if the mother was a bad cook, we all say the same thing. My mother did this in the best way. Oh, I remember how much I liked when my mother made this or the other. Isn't that true? Because our brains are programmed to eat what our mothers gave us. So if we give them soda pop, if we give them ice cream, if we give them cheap pizzas or anything like that, because the mother didn't have the time or the energy or the will to feed their children well, they're going to love garbage. And when they become bigger and older and teenagers or adults, they will still love that bad food you gave them because you didn't have the time, you didn't have the courage, you didn't have the dedication to apply yourself to this very important endeavor. Your children were entrusted to your care. So you have to live up to the expectation. Your children are a gift of God. You have to take care of them. Let's go to the next segment. I am Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. And it might not show up to now, up to this point, my optimism about the message I have for you today. But I'm trying to establish all the basis of what makes me try to create a very dire message of a very important necessity without which we will not be able to reverse disease, which is what I want to do. We have talked about the conditions of chronic disease. We have talked about early onset disease and the devastating effects it's having in our society today. And again, every time I see people in the doctor's office, when I see people in the hospital and so forth, I have to reflect on a very important situation. And this is true for most of them. This is really true for most of the patients. I wonder what would have happened if I had met them earlier, if I had been able to help them make the changes. But basically, as a doctor, you can advise, you can help, you can tell people. You don't even need a doctor to know what you should be starting to do. But we don't have the courage, we're not convinced of the benefits of doing what back in our minds know we should be doing. I have a very good friend of mine who was a brilliant physician. He was an internist, one of those physicians that seem to know it all. Everybody looked for advice talking to him. Patients and other professionals alike. We all went to him because he had a wealth of knowledge and good judgment. He was one of the best doctors I have known in my life. But he was a chain smoker. And one day, in one of those peaceful times in the hospital, sitting talking about not relevant things, I dropped the question. I said, obviously, you know a lot in medicine. And you have seen a lot of patients. And you have seen a lot of problems. And I have a question for you. Why do you smoke? And the reaction was incredible. I expected some sort of an excuse or I like it or anything like that. He broke. He broke down. He lost all his position and dropped his head and said, "Don't ask me that. Don't tell me that." He says, "Don't you think I know what I'm doing? Don't you think I understand what I'm doing?" The man was almost crying. I almost felt sorry I dropped the question. So I started talking to him, trying to comfort him and trying to say, well, if I can help you, etc. And it took some time until he finally was able to drop cigarettes for good. But it really needs a lot of courage and conviction. It has to come from the bottom of your heart. It has to be, you have to gather everything you need to make the changes. And the same goes for sugar, and the same goes for soda pop, and the same thing goes for recreational drugs or anything like that. You have to be absolutely convinced. You have to have all your willpower. And yes, you can use medical help. Or I would say you should seek medical help. But deep in our hearts, we all know what we're doing bad. Anyone that smokes, anyone that drinks too much, anyone that has binge eating, and this type of thing, we know we're not doing the right thing. And you need a lot of support, a lot of help. There's a lady, for example, who was also a big smoker, and she asked her children to go out every time she wanted to light a cigarette, supposedly not to give secondhand smoke to their children. And my intervention was in a different way. I said, how much you love your children? And of course, you know the answer. So I asked, how can you push them away in order to keep smoking? It's really a lot of things that you have to see. You probably do not see them. You need somebody else telling you that. But if we all become better judges of our lifestyles, and we are very honest with ourselves, we are going to begin to understand what we're doing wrong. And let me go back to my series about cancer. If we smoke, if we eat a lot of sugar, if we do all these things, what we're going to be doing is creating a lot of free radicals, a lot of toxic material, chronic inflammation, cellular and DNA mutation. We are going to get cancer. We're going to have high blood pressure. We're going to die younger. We're going to suffer a lot. No, you're not going to be spending your money in the Queen Mary II. You're going to be spending your money in St. Mary's Hospital. So we have to do it. If we are truly intelligent, if we are truly smart, we have to start making the changes. Because between the QE2 cruise ship and the Queen Mary Hospital, there's a big difference. You want to live your life. You want to enjoy your life. God put us here to enjoy ourselves and enjoy everyone around us. Our children, our family, our friends, and so on. Not to be with pains and aches and suffering. So we have to be brutally honest about what we're doing, what can we do and what we cannot do. And look for help. And I offer you my hand. I offer you my help. I offer you to contact me, to call me. You can call me. There's a toll-free number. You can talk to me. You can send me an email. 3 o'clock in the morning, you cannot sleep, you're thinking about this. Start writing your thoughts. Mail them to me. Put them in a WhatsApp message. Put them in the social media of your choice. I promise I'll get back to you. I promise I'll help you to do it in the best possible way. But we have to change all that. Let's go to the next step. Another thing that we have to change in a very important way. We are used to go to the doctor because we are sick. We have to break that paradigm. You do not go to the doctor because you're sick. You go to the doctor because you want to continue to be healthy. We have talked many times, and you can link to any of those podcasts about early detection, prevention. You go to the doctor because you want to be aware of anything that might come in the future, where you can still make these changes that are hopefully going to let you just go around the problem, or detect it early enough when therapies are going to be simple, inexpensive, and successful. So we have to change that paradigm. We have to go to the doctor to be checked out, to be examined, to have an X-ray, to do an imaging thing, to find out how are we, in what shape are we. If I told you that you have a 3-week vacation and you can go to Yosemite with all your family, take your car and go with them. I have a beautiful cabin. It's for you. It's free. All you have to do is drive from your home to the national park. You go to the gas station and you check it out. You see the oil level. You check the tires. You find out what's with that little rattle that you have in the car. Might be important, might not be. It might be that somebody just dropped the keys in one side, and that's the little noise you have. Nevertheless, you make sure your car is going to make that trip successfully. That's what I'm talking about. You go to the doctor because you want to confirm that everything is right, that you can do little adjustments to your lifestyle and to things, and many times it's as simple as a supplement, as a vitamin that's missing in your body. Minerals are the most frequent deficiency, nutritional deficiency in America. So many times it's as simple as that. Probably some folic acid, probably some B6, probably a multi-mineral. So we can do those changes. But you have to think of them. You have to be proactive. You have to take charge of yourself. Get at the helm of your healthcare. Let's keep on talking. I'm liking this. You are with Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital. And I have had a lot of excitement and positiveness in today's message, because one thing I want to tell you is that, yes, even if you have a problem, you can reverse the way. You can make the changes. That's why I have called this segment Reversing Disease. But we have to understand that a lot of the most pressing health issues in today's medical environment are the chronic inflammatory diseases. Are diseases that come from not the outside, but from within, are self-inflicted, are self-promoted, and many times we spend our money to get sick, like when we smoke, when we buy refined sugar, when we have a soda pop, when we do all these things, when we abuse drugs, etc. So we're paying to get sick. Because when you begin doing those things, normally you're younger and your body is very resilient. So you don't feel the problem. That's why we're watching now early onset disease. Because younger people are allowed to do things at much earlier age than before. Before, parental control was stronger and more difficult to break. Now we tend to be a lot more permissive. But the question is that permissiveness in health issues is paying off any dividend? I don't think so. I think it's going in the different direction. And what I talk to parents is, you do not want to be a tyrant. You don't want to be a dictator. You don't want to handle the life of your children in a very stiff, difficult way. No, but you can train them from the beginning. If you have a very small baby and you begin by feeding them natural foods, if you begin by giving them vegetables and so on, people are going to grow up loving broccoli. We hate broccoli because our parents hated broccoli. So it begins very early in life. We have to train our children because I want my children to outlive me. And I'm not kidding. I'm beginning to see many parents who have to go to their children's funeral. You don't want to do that. You want your children to thrive, to grow, to prosper, and someday go to your funeral because they're going to outlive you. But we're not going in the right direction because we're neglecting, period. We're neglecting the duty we have to take care of our children and to take care of ourselves. More and more, we see a different type of information. And that's what I'm asking you to do, to educate yourselves about how to take care of your body. Many years ago, when we were trying to beat difficult diseases like cancer and chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia and diseases that supposedly didn't have any treatment at all, we started going back, reversing the path to see where did we go wrong, to switch the path. And the more we looked, and the more time has passed, the more I'm convinced that the problem began when we started living in a way that humans were not designed to live. So long ago, we decided to create BioCare Hospital, a place where you could have biological care for yourself, for your loved ones. We created a branch within the hospital to help people to live a more functional life, to have a more functional medicine, to fill the gaps where necessary. And gaps we have a lot. Because we eat the wrong thing, with insufficient nutritional capacity, we have a lot of mistakes in our daily life. And we start changing them, then you're going to feel completely different. And we designed something that we call a health getaway. Go to the doctor not because you're sick, but you're going to go to the doctor. You're going to even go to a hospital for some time because you want to re-educate yourself in healthier lifestyles and eating. I want to see what I'm doing wrong. I want to learn. I want to detect. I want to be examined. I want to have markers. I want to do nutritional evaluation in my blood. I want to see what's my status and where I can change things. And thank God more and more people are coming to BioCare Health Getaway. Because that's a program that works. It's a program that delivers a lot of smiles. I have had people that told me, you know what, doctor? I thought I was just getting old, but I feel so different. I want to do things I didn't feel like doing anymore. I don't have to sleep so many hours anymore. I enjoy my family and my Sundays in a much better way. Simply because you started filling the gaps. You needed minerals, you supplement minerals. You needed amino acids, you supplement amino acids. You examine the person and do the blood work and all the things you need to know where can we fill the gaps and how we train you to never go back to that condition. And we have a kitchen that's 7 times the size of my pharmacy. It's 7 times the staff of the pharmacy. There's not one day where I don't go to the kitchen. Because I know food can be good. Good food can be good. You can eat very well and have fun with food and still fill your nutritional needs. All you need is get food, not a box, not a foil, not a can. All you need is get food, and the bad news for many of you might be you need to get into the kitchen. You need to cook some things in order to learn. But when you're in the hospital, you're going to be surrounded by tender loving care, by great food, by great information, by excellent surveillance and early detection of problems, by intravenous supplementation. We're going to get in your body in a couple of weeks what your body was missing for years. Because we're a full hospital. I can do full intervention with intravenous nutrition. And I can get essential fatty acids, and I can get minerals, and I can get a vitamin, and I can get amino acids, whatever your body needs. But I'm going to get you going. And probably the most important thing is, with that, regain energy and well-being. Now you know, now you understand how you're going to be managing your body from now on. And that's going to be the most exciting venture of your life. Some patients send me ideas. You know, I did this with cherries, or I did that with corn. Simple ideas for people to enjoy. Food should be enjoyment, not just a calorie need. And that is what we have to convey to our children if we want them to be healthy. We want to sit at the table with them and share with them the goodness of what they're eating and tell them about it and help them to understand why taking care of their bodies are going to make out of them thriving, healthy, growing, strong, as good as can be individuals. Because they are the most precious things in your life, your own children, and your own life. So, the lesson here is simple. You do not necessarily have to keep suffering problems. You should not wait for problems to happen. You should learn to take control of your health, to learn how to help it, to learn how to prevent, to get information, to educate yourself. And the next time you have a couple of weeks free, come to BioCare. But in the meantime, call me, follow me, send for information. I'll be happy to help you with anything, from making chicken soup to helping somebody that has cancer. That's what a doctor should be doing. I'm with you, I'm for you, I'm here to help you.